soon.
Maybe there's another way to save our home.
You've never faced anything like this. Monkey!
Hello everyone, welcome back to a brand new video today on the channel, and today we are going to be talking about the brand new Transformers movie that just got released in theaters, Transformers Rise of the Beasts. And this film is starred by a lot of different people: Anthony Ramos, Dominique Fishburne, Peter Cullen, Pete Davidson, Ron Perlman, Michelle Yeoh, and Peter Dinklage, to name a few. Now this film is loosely based upon the Beast Wars TV show from the late 90s, a very classic children's show that a lot of people watched. I didn't. But this time around we follow Noah, played by Anthony Ramos. He's an ex-army soldier, he's looking for new work, but once he discovers Mirage after a heist goes wrong, he gets tangled with the Autobots and is thrown into their struggle as the Autobots race across the world to find a key that could potentially mean the end of civilization as we know it. So due to this, the Autobots must team up with the Maximals to defeat Scourge and Unicron and save the planet. Now I'm just gonna get this out of the way right now before anyone asks. I have no idea what Beast Wars is. I have a pretty rough idea of what it is. I've seen it on TV. I've never watched it myself when I was a kid. I don't have any nostalgia going into it from that point alone. I was excited to see them, but I had no idea who they were. But I do want to say that I have a lot of nostalgia for this franchise. As a kid, I did watch a little bit of the Transformers show when it first aired. I watched a lot of the Michael Bay movies, which I know aren't great, and I don't think they're great to this day. But I still do have a level of nostalgia for them, as much as I hate to say it. But really, the thing that got me excited for this movie was Bumblebee, as that was kind of like a reboot of the franchise, a prologue to what's to come. And I'm going to be honest, I really liked Bumblebee. I rewatched it, and I got really excited for this movie, because if this movie was as good as Bumblebee, I was on board for a full-on new Transformers reboot. I was so excited, and I don't think this movie is awful. A lot of people are going to be saying that it's awful. I don't think it is. Is it great? No, but is it awful and just completely worthless? No. It's quite a bit of fun, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, let's just get some of the obvious stuff out of the way first. Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime is amazing. He has been amazing in everything he's been. He literally just embodies the character in pretty much every way, but the voice that he offers Optimus is so iconic and so great, and I just wanted to say this right now that he is still great in this movie. And while we're on the topic of Optimus, I do want to say too, I like what they do with his character in this movie, and that's the fact that they actually give Optimus Prime an arc in this movie, which from my knowledge I don't think that's happened since like the first one. But he has a little bit of an arc here where he's trying to learn how to trust humans, and it's a little thing and it's a little arc, but I actually thought it was pretty well done in this movie, and I actually liked that part of his character. It made him a lot more than just the badass leader that he was. It actually gave the character something to do, and it gave him a little bit of development. And I actually didn't mind it. I actually thought it was a pretty good touch. And speaking about the characters of this movie, I also want to say that Noah, played by Anthony Ramos, I thought was really great. I really like this actor. He's been in a lot of really great things, like In the Heights, which was a great movie, and he's no different here. I thought he was very charismatic and charming. I thought he did really well with all these Transformers and all the CGI. He actually looked like he was talking to someone, which I know is kind of a little thing, but it is kind of difficult to do. And another thing, I really want to say this right now, I actually really like Mirage in this movie. If you don't know, Mirage is played by Pete Davidson, which is a very hit or miss actor. A lot of people find him funny. A lot of people don't find him funny. I thought he was funny in this movie. Some people I could see people going out of this movie thinking that he's annoying. I really can see it, because he's very much the character that's meant to just be making jokes and meant to be kind of like the heart in a weird way. He's supposed to be like the comedic relief, and I think he does it well. I thought he was alright in this movie, and I actually thought he was a funny character, and I really liked his relationship with Noah, or Anthony Ramos's character in general. I thought that was a really nice detail in the movie. Now I do want to move on to the Maximals a little bit, and I want to say this right now. I thought the Maximals in this movie were the most interesting part about it. This movie is called Transformers Rise of the Beasts, so naturally you would think it would have some of that Maximal action. It does. It definitely does. I'm going to get a little bit more into that later, but I do want to say right now, everything to do with them in this movie, I thought was the best part of the movie. I thought Ron Perlman was great as Optimus Primal, the leader of the Maximals. He's just giant monkey. Like, how could you not like him? He's literally a monkey. The Transformers! I'm a simple man. What can I say? I like monkeys, man. That's all I'm gonna say. But another really surprising character in this movie that I quite enjoyed was Airazor, played by Michelle Yeoh. I thought she did a really great job. She definitely is the Maximal besides Optimus Primal that gets the most to do. She gets the most screen time and the most development. And I actually quite liked her character, and I actually liked the voice a lot. I thought it actually fit way better than I kind of expected it to be, which I thought was pretty nice, and I liked all the effects that came along with her character as well. And another thing, this might be controversial because I've heard a lot of people talk about this over the last few days. I actually thought the action scenes in this movie were pretty fun. A lot of people have been shitting on them. A lot of people have been calling them just very ugly and boring to look at. And in a way, I can see where they're coming from. There's not a whole lot of color, unfortunately, in these scenes, which was really unfortunate. But I didn't think these scenes were awful. I actually had quite a bit of fun with them. I thought it was quite fun watching Optimus Prime and Optimus Primal beat the shit out of some robots. I'm a simple man. What can I say? I thought it was interesting. I thought it was cool. And I really liked the scenes with Bumblebee at the end too. I thought they were quite fun and quite creative. And I just liked a lot of that stuff. And unfortunately, that's where my pros with this movie end. I think I have just one big underlining issue with this movie. This movie is one of the most safe movies I have seen in a while. And if you don't know what I mean by that, is that I mean this movie is safe in a way of it doesn't really pull any punches. Like, it doesn't do anything that actually makes genuine impact. There are things in this movie that very much go the way you'd expect them to go. There's no like big twists and turns, or even when they do throw a twist or turn, it just doesn't give off impact because it's such a predictable plot. And it's such a predictable formula that you expect what's going to happen by the end of the movie. There are key points in this movie where something happens and you go, well, that's not going to stay the way it is because we know the formula. We know what you're trying to do. And it's very much a lot of that throughout the film where it's just very generic in a way. It feels very beat for beat. It feels like this is what you got to do now. This is what you got to do now. Now we're going to get to the third act and then this is how it's going to end. It feels very by the books. It really doesn't feel like they went that crazy with anything, which was unfortunate because I thought Bumblebee was great, and I thought that was actually a really big departure from what came before. So I was really hoping that they would somehow do that in this movie and make them feel more unique opposed to the other Transformers movies. But honestly, it just feels like another Transformers movie. One of the better ones, but it still feels like that in a weird way. Another thing, I am going to say this right now, I did mention it, the CGI in this movie is incredibly inconsistent. There are some moments I think that the CGI looked really good. There are certain action scenes where I was like, you know what? That looks good. I don't mind that. But then there are little moments throughout the movie, and they're scattered all across, where you kind of look at that and you go, that doesn't look finished. Like, it legitimately, like, it's almost like they're going at different frame rates in a weird way. It's like they didn't, like, fully process them into the movie. They feel very choppy in weird ways, and they don't happen a whole lot, I want to say, but they are very apparent when they happen. Apparent enough where I actually looked over at my friend and said, that didn't look great. Like, that little moment there, I was like, that doesn't look good, necessarily. Which is really unfortunate because I actually thought most of the movie actually looked pretty okay. But those little moments, I just wanted to mention them because they really bugged me and felt very out of place in certain fight scenes. And also, I gotta say something really quick. This movie is called Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Okay, keep that in mind. I mentioned before that the Maximals were in this movie, and that is not a lie. But I personally think that the Maximals were really wasted in this movie. Besides characters like Airazor and Optimus Primal, you really don't get like any development, or honestly really anything from the other two. And if you don't know who the other two are, it's Cheetor and Rhinox. And in this movie, I was actually really excited to see what they can do. And I'm just gonna say right now, they do nothing. They are in the background. They do nothing. You see them in like one or two fight scenes. I'm not even exaggerating, unfortunately. Rhinox doesn't say a single word in this movie. I don't think there's one time he actually said anything. At least Cheetor actually like talked, I think it was like twice. Yeah, Rhinox didn't get to talk at all. But they aren't given any development. I don't know why, it's just, they're literally just there. There's no reason, I think, to actually call this movie Transformers Rise of the Beasts because the Maximals are barely a part of it. And they're not in the movie for very, very long. A lot of people might get this a little wrong and a little skewed from the trailer. They're really not in this movie that much. Like, they're really not. But this movie did not have enough of them, especially from them being the most interesting part about the movie and the main selling point of the movie. It was really unfortunate, and it was kind of wasted in my opinion. And I want to talk about some of the other Autobots as well. I don't mean to come off as a giant snob, but what the fuck did they do to Wheeljack? Why does he look like this? Why does he look like this? You had a perfect design in Bumblebee. A perfect design that is accurate to the source material and just cool to look at. And then you have this. This nerd emoji head ass looking Autobot. As soon as he showed up in the movie, I like cringed. Cause like, why did they give him glasses? Why? Like, I understand like maybe they're just trying to be creative and make a more likable character, but one, he's barely in the movie. And when he shows up, he's just kind of weird to look at. And I really hated his design. And I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt, but I really couldn't. I just looked at him and I said, that looks so incredibly stupid. And I hate that you changed it from Bumblebee. And also, I want to talk about the villain for a second, Scourge. But did you know this guy was voiced by Peter Dinklage? No? Because half the people in the theater I don't think did either. They put like this filter over his voice where it literally makes it feel like indistinguishable. Like you could not tell me, not knowing the cast, saying, yeah, that's Peter Dinklage, and me going, oh really? That makes sense. Like, no. Like, it does not sound like him at all. And I thought that was a really bad decision because Peter Dinklage can have a very iconic voice to him and do a really good voice work job, and they wasted it. They put it through a filter, and I just thought it was lame. I just thought it was incredibly lame, and I think it wasted his talent. And another thing, I don't think that the villain is given enough time to develop. There's really nothing interesting about this character. He's literally just the bad guy who's kind of the horseman for a greater threat that's coming, and that he collects little emblems from Transformers when he defeats them. That's all to his character. There's really just nothing else. He's just a bodyguard / servant to a bigger threat that's coming. And I thought that was wasted because I heard a lot of people really liking this character, but I don't get it personally. I just thought it was kind of lame. And there is some bad humor. I do want to say that too. There is some good humor, but there is some pretty awful humor. But I do want to say the one scene with Pete Davidson where he screams like a little girl is probably one of the greatest moments in film history.
You boys got this.
But all in all, that's gonna wrap my thoughts for this movie. I don't think this movie is that bad, like I said. I think there is a good movie in here, but I thought there was just too many little nitpicks and things, and just this movie was so basic in its performance, and due to that, I can't give it any higher than a 6. It is a movie that you can watch. It's definitely one of the better Transformers movies. There are good action moments in this movie. I like some of the new characters they introduce, but I feel like they don't give enough time to some of these new characters, and I feel like they just kind of ruin certain other characters, and I just don't really want to see them again. And yeah, that's all I'm really going to say with this movie, is that it was just wasted, it feels like. Very wasted potential in this movie, and I would watch it again, but I wouldn't be necessarily excited about it. But if you like this video, please like and subscribe down below for more content on the channel coming pretty damn soon, and I'm going to see you all in the next review. See ya.